This next imbalance is one of my very favorite. I really like it for some reason. White to move now. Stop the video and tell me what white should play, knowing that both sides have equal material and equal pawn structure. I would say it's not very different, and they have almost the same space. So it's not one of these imbalances, it's a new imbalance. You're white, what would you play? Take your time. Okay, I'm gonna go through the logistics. How do you find the right move? Is it through just looking at your pieces and looking for threats to play quickly? No, we don't do that. That's what a 1000 elo player does. Here we're looking for the imbalance. Okay, I have two rooks, he has two rooks. My rooks are not great, his rooks are not great. I have a queen, it's mediocre, his queen is also mediocre. It's not pointing at anything in particular, it's not launching an attack on my king, mine neither. So there's one difference, minor pieces. His bishop literally has no moves, it cannot move. So it's stuck there. It has two pawns in front of it, so it has no scope, no laser. While my knight is true on the first rank, it's not developed, but it has hope. That's the difference. The knight here has hope, his bishop has no hope. And what's that hope? Well, to put the knight on a hole, to place the knight in a weak square. That's my hope. Okay, where is that weak square? You should identify it immediately. The weak square is here. That's the weak square. Why is it a weak square? Well, first, it's not defended by any piece, and we really don't want it defended by a pawn. So if there was a pawn here, we don't have a weak square. We don't have a hole. We don't have hope for our knight, at least for now. His best hope would be to go here. That's the second best hole, and it's still slightly better than the bishop. But this hole on e6, it's the only thing that's gonna make you win the game. And now the question is, how do we get there? Okay, we can get there through here or here. This is not possible, so through here. And how can we get there? How can we get here? Well, e2. Okay, there we go, e2. Does black have a move? Can he do something to threaten me? Can he do something to gain space? Can he? No. His pieces are not gonna go anywhere, especially that bishop. So next I'm gonna go here and, sorry, not jump there. I could go here, but the better one is here. I'm forking the two rooks, and even if I'm not forking the two rooks, let's say this is the position, I'm still winning. That knight is not moving from there. There's no white bishop to disturb me. There's no pawn to disturb me. We're gonna use that knight as an octopus and win the game. I really hope you find out that move, because it's very important to see the outpost, the weak square, the hole. You're gonna train yourself to find the weak square. We're gonna do it in detail on the next lectures. So yeah, we're gonna take each imbalance and we're gonna do a lecture about it. We're gonna see games of grandmasters making use of the imbalances, and gonna analyze their games and analyze different positions so that you can immediately find the outpost for your knight or even your bishop. If we had a great bishop here, you're also winning. So yeah, thank you very much, guys. If you're still here, I would really appreciate it if you're enjoying yourself and you're learning some chess. So yeah, I hope you can throw ahead a follow or subscribe to my YouTube channel, because I'm really giving this for free. These courses cost a lot of money when other people do it on certain platforms, but I'm doing it on YouTube, I'm doing it on TikTok for free. So I would really appreciate it if you do follow me to see the next lectures. Next imbalance is about the development, the lead in the development. Here we're still in the opening phase, yet black did a big mistake when he played knight to f6. The lead in development is a very dangerous thing, and the challenged side should do his best to keep things closed until his king gets safely castled and his other pieces find their way into the fray, thereby catching up in development and allowing a fight of equal armies. So here, as you can see, the Black King is far from developing. He has to find a way to get his bishop out and then to castle. That's at least 3 moves away. So what he should do is be safe. But here he did the bad move, knight to f6. And you might wonder, why is that move bad? Because white is closer to getting his king safe. And he's seeing that the black pieces are not in the right squares yet. This bishop is still on the first rank, this bishop also. The knights are developed, but I can attack them. e5. And now black has 2 options. He can take, or he can take with this, or he can go back. Most people will not go back. So he can take or go back. He will not go back, okay? Because there's some psychological element to it. If you develop your knight and you just go back in the next step to where you was, your mind is telling you you fucked up. So he will not do that. The only right move here for black is to go back. And if he takes the pawn, he's gonna lose, basically. He's gonna head into some very, very dark territory. Because as the author says here, you can do some moves with the knight and queen combination and we can destroy him. So there are 2 possibilities to take, with the pawn or with the knight. If he decides to take with the pawn, then we go ahead and throw the check here. We take his queen and he's gonna take with the knight because he thinks I'm not gonna take with my king uncastled and I will not be able to castle my king for the rest of the game, which is very logical. So he will go ahead and take with the knight. And that's even worse than taking with the king, because then we have knight to b5. How are you going to stop me from forking your king and the rook? The only way to stop me is to go king d7. Then I'll just take the pawn with check. And you will have to go back. Mate. Black was alright, but he had a lack in development. I had lead as white in development. So I used that and challenged his king safety. So that was the first possibility, taking with a pawn. We're gonna go back and take with a knight. So as we said, as black will not go back, probably, he can take with a knight. If he takes with a knight, you take with a knight. And then he takes with the pawn, and then you give the check that allows you to win the queen, because he has to take this. Sorry, he has to take this bishop now because it's check and he cannot go here. Once he takes, you take the queen, and you win the game. That's it. How did all of this start? Lead in development. You had the lead in development, and you used it. Also, black made a small mistake by not going back with the knight. But that's the natural human way of playing. The author says, foolishly doing exactly what white wanted to do. Though knight takes e5, then you take back with the knight, e5. He takes with the pawn on e5. That's the variation I just showed. Bishop takes f7 check, allows white to pick up the black queen. That's the one I showed. And the first one I showed was he takes with the pawn. Then we take the queen with the queen. Knight takes d8, and then we go ahead knight to b5 with our knight, if you remember. And then he has to go out with the king, and then he's basically lost because we take with check. A lead in development is a very dangerous thing, and you have to use it. You have to see your lead in development, and especially you have to reduce the odds of you being in an underdevelopment. If you're playing with black, just try to get your king safe as soon as possible. And that's how you basically have a solid position and you go on from there to define the imbalances. But do not get crushed from the opening because you did not develop that bishop, which will allow you to castle. Okay, we're still in the first lecture if you're watching from TikTok. And now we have a position. I want you to look at the position and tell me what each color is thinking about. What is the plan for black? What is the plan for white? And it's black to move now. So stop the video and think about it. Okay, let's break this position down together. First, we have material balance. We have the same material on both sides. And I feel from the first glance that white is better. I can just sit back and say white is better here. But how to prove it? Why is white back? Is white better? Well, first he has this great outpost, g6. And he also is thinking about bringing his knight here to e3 and then to d5. Sorry, to f5. It's a great outpost also for the knight. But this is the main thinking of white now. Black is thinking about these loose pawns of the white structure. This is a very easy pawn to capture long term. But he doesn't really have a plan. He doesn't really have a path to play because white is just thinking about this and how to get there. And he's thinking about this and how to get there. He's also maybe thinking about putting the knight here. There's also a possibility. So black, when he sees that the knight will land there, he will go ahead and go king h7, protecting that square. He doesn't want to see the knight on the on the sixth row. He doesn't want to see that. So let's follow the line that the author suggests here. Knight h4, intending knight to g6. So king h7 to prevent it. But by making a purely defensive move, white gets the opportunity to continue to push his agenda. I have not told you yet what is this imbalance. I will tell you at the end. You have to find out by yourself. So the black king is reacting by going to h7 to prevent this great move. Bishop takes c5, queen takes back. We have knight e3 trying to reach these two beautiful outposts on e5 and d5, but d5 is protected here. So what's the move for white after black moves? Well, it's protected but not quite, and black wants to gobble these pawns, these unprotected pawns on the white side. So he'll go ahead and play knight to b6, so that he's controlling this file, and that he makes it harder for this knight to go here, and he also has plans to go here and here. Very logical plan by black pieces, but as you can see, he's reacting to white's moves. So here the white knight jumps to d5, despite all of the defense of the black pieces. And then we have bishop takes d5, he takes with the bishop. Then we have the pawn takes. Then the knight. The knight goes back to e7. That's what black is thinking about, just retreating. It's equal material, so he's thinking, let me go back and attack this pawn by 4 pieces. But white goes queen e4 check. King goes back to h8, c4, and as the author says here, white has managed to create some complications. And white is better here. This g6 will happen eventually once this knight moves. And yeah, it's clear that white is better here. This imbalance is called the initiative, pushing your own agenda. It's all about who's attacking, who's defending, who's acting, and who's reacting. And if you're acting, you're the one who's pushing his own ideas. You're the one who's pushing his agenda and trying to win. Both sides champion their view of things in the hope that the opponent will have to eventually forego his own plans and react to ours. That's the plan, guys. The plan is to make our plan the main one, not his plan. I usually refer to it as pushing your own agenda. This sentence is repeated over and over and over in his book. Pushing your own agenda. It's very important. Don't let your opponent psych you out into always reacting to his moves. Create danger and he should be reacting to your moves. So that's the eighth imbalance. We're gonna talk about it in detail more in a separate video. This is only the first lecture, and yeah, we're gonna take imbalance per imbalance and explain each one of them until you can master them. And the only philosophy that you can get out of this section is the initiative is a physical manifestation of a psychological battle. Moving on, guys, to the ninth imbalance, and it's called king safety. That's the most important thing in chess. That's the most important imbalance. And with the white pieces here, what would you play? Well, it's obvious that we're castled, we're good, we have nice pieces as white, but the black pieces aren't fully developed. His king is not safe. It's not 100% safe. Well, when you see such positions, you have to think about sacrificing. You have to think about attacking the king. Even though you can lose a knight, even though you can lose a bishop. But is there a checkmate? Is there a way to win the queen by disturbing the safety of his king? Well, in this position, yeah. We go ahead and take f7. Knight takes f7. This is a fork. He will take. And then we go ahead, check with the queen, supported by the bishop. Well, if he goes back here or here, this is checkmate. So he has to run away. He goes here, and you have to find the final signature move. Well, it's moving your bishop to d3, check. Then it's over, because he goes back and you get the checkmate on h3 with the queen. And yeah, we sacrificed the knight, but we won the game. There's another possibility for him to reduce the loss, but he will eventually lose a rook, at least. He will lose at least a rook, and he will lose the game just because he didn't take into account safe king. He didn't take into account the most important piece. How do you go ahead and protect your queen or protect your pawn or protect your rooks if your king is not safe in the first place? You cannot play chess if you don't protect your king. This is like very easy stuff. This is basic stuff. I'm sure you know this stuff. But in this book, it is underlined. It shows you examples where you get a little bit reckless and you get punished. So the other possibility is after I take on f7, he runs away with the queen. That's a bit better, but he still loses the rook. This is gonna go down, and yeah, it's a completely lost position. First thing you think about, king safety. Is your king safe? Is his king safe? If my king's safe and his king is not safe, let's break out the center, let's sacrifice piece maybe, let's go full attack, but you have to calculate, of course. You don't just give away your queen and you don't calculate that line. You have to be sure that at least after 2 to 3 moves, you're better off sacrificing a piece to destroy the safety of his king. Okay, here we are, guys, at the last imbalance. And I want you to see the position. Don't think about a move for white. Look at the position and tell me what's the imbalance or what's the weakness and strength in this position. It's a new imbalance, but try to find a weakness or a strength. Okay, I think you're done thinking. I hope you stop the video. The weakness and the strength is the d4 pawn for white. Or you tell me why. Why is that? Well, now we're gonna represent something a bit hard to understand. I even find difficulty understanding this. It's statics versus dynamics. Okay, what is static? Something static is something blocked, something that doesn't move, and dynamic is something that goes around, can go up, and it's moving, it's in motion. Okay, this d4 pawn for white is an isolated pawn. It's not protected by another pawn, and it's in the middle of the board. For white, this d4 pawn is a dynamic strength. Well, why? Because it's controlling the e5 and the c5 squares. These are very important squares of the game. And it can, in the long term, be pushing and go ahead and maybe create some danger. But for the black pieces, he sees this d4 square just as a trash, as a static failure, as a weakness, as a big weakness, because it's blocked by this knight, for now at least, and it's easily targeted because it's not protected by another pawn. I can bring the bishop or the queen in the long term. I can attack it easily. And it's not moving forward. It's static. It's blocked. So here, the author says, statics versus dynamics, the battle between short-term and long-term imbalances. Statics and dynamics occur in every phase of the game. In general, a dynamic plus is something that needs to be used in a reasonably quick manner, either to score a knockout or to create a long-lasting static advantage of your own. A static imbalance gives its owner something that will be around for a long time. A static imbalance for a long time. A dynamic imbalance, you have to use it now before it gets blocked. If you have a pawn that you can push now to create some imbalance, to create some chaos on the king side, for example, push it now before it's blocked by a knight or another pawn. So here white has an isolated d pawn, and for black this d pawn is a static weakness. Quite a few of his pieces can gang up on it and take the pawn, as we said. And the d5 square is also a feather in black's cap. He doesn't intend to trade the knight, because he doesn't want this pawn pushing. He wants it to be a static weakness for long. But white views the pawn as a dynamic strength. It gains central space, controls the two important squares, as we said, and allows white to build up a nasty kingside attack in many lines. And countless world-class players have championed both sides of this position, meaning that statics versus dynamics can be used as a strength for both sides. You have to know how to view it, and you're gonna be mastering the strategy of dynamics and statics in this book. So that's the last part of our imbalances. We have 10 imbalances, and I hope I covered them at least with some detail in this first lecture. In the next video, we're gonna go deep into each one of them. We're gonna look into games of grandmasters, great players, and we're gonna understand how the Hikaru, the Magnus, the Fischer, mind works while they're trying to find the right move. It's a plan, it's analysis, and it's not just finding a move that threatens a queen or a move that shakes emotions into our opponent. Chess is far more than that. So yeah, I hope you guys liked this first lecture. If you like the video, of course, share it with your friends so that they can also get better at chess and you can compete with each other. That's one of the best ways to get your elo up, your friends. So yeah, share this video, like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon with the second lecture of How to Reassess Your Chess, a book by Jeremy Solomon.